coming back to research, and you've referenced some external research. I know you've also conducted a lot of research yourselves and partnered with different organizations. Yeah, can you share any some of the more recent or more insightful, or what are you seeing from your research?
Yeah, so we've I think it's up to 55,000 students who've researched. So, I've had answer our surveys over the last 5, 6 years,
Hmm.
and we've been very pointed at that school to work transition problem, and probably even more specifically from a student point of view, understanding the decision making process. But yeah, to your point, we've worked with multiple federal government departments, state, some large organisations, but largely we do it for ourselves. We want to just understand the problem. We actually make it all publicly available.
Sure.
So yeah, well, the ones that we can that aren't
Sure.
contracted, but
Yes. Yeah.
but to that point where I sort of have the same view as you is we're one part of the solution, but it's a big problem that requires multiple awesome companies, awesome people coming together to help solve. And so, one of our more famous ones called After the ATAR. And so that's probably been published a fair bit. And again, you can download it for free. But the main trend out of that is pretty consistent year on year. So there's some questions we track year on year for more longitudinal studies. But for example, still every year, over 72% of young people plan on going to uni. And again, that's fine. But if you start to dig a little bit deeper underneath that, a lot of that's a very unconsidered decision. It's going, this is what is expected, or, it's what my friends are doing, or, I just can't think about that now. I want to focus on my ATAR. I'll worry about it when I get to uni. So, which is sort of conflicting because if you look at some headline stats, there's multiple things where you go, so many young people are confused about what they want to do after school. We've had 43% of young people having no idea, sort of things. So like these really big stats. But when you drill a little bit underneath it is, so for example, if almost half of young people didn't know what they want to do, if you actually start digging into that, they sort of do. Like they're sort of going, well, yeah, I'm going to uni. I just don't know if I'm doing X, Y, Z. And so it's been an interesting, exploration for us to actually get to what's happening. And what we've found is really it's an education
Hmm.
challenge and also opportunity. So that's why I'm a really big advocate for getting careers into the classroom, into the curriculum, because what you're talking about before is like even when you're learning maths, you're learning skills, and skills are very, very tightly related to careers. And so the more that we take it as a whole school approach and a really economic and social responsibility to
Hmm.
actually have this, because everyone finishes school. It's like the one constant of everyone at school is everyone finishes, and like what starts off as a small problem becomes a significantly bigger problem for everyone when you talk about money and social impacts and things like that. So yeah, in terms of the research, when we look at one of the biggest opportunities, it is the education piece. And we had a separate stat, which was really widely published a couple of years ago, which is an Australian apprentice can be $150,000 ahead of a university graduate when you take into consideration wages earned and money spent. And for context, I was a carpentry apprentice in Queensland and a arts degree at Sydney University. So we just chose some random ones. And we put that in front of the audience. And just that one stat increased consideration of an apprenticeship by like over 60%. So we've got multiple data points that goes into it's not rocket science in terms of actually having major impacts. It's just getting to them at the right time in the right place, probably through a trusted vehicle. And yeah, I think it's one of the most obvious things that needs to be done that I can think of. So yeah, that's probably one of the more interesting parts of the research.
That is fascinating, and just thinking from personal experience, when I first moved to Australia 20 years ago, I was shocked just at the differences. As much as we think the models are fairly similar between the two countries, that the students were expected to know not only which institution they wanted to go to, but what program they wanted to go to at the age of 17, and certainly 20 years ago they didn't have a year 13 to be able to explore to get that research. And so these are massive decisions that they are making, or they previously were making without enough information. So, and certainly when we think about the cost of university in America versus here, it's on a whole different scale. So in the U.S., although we're seeing it definitely and dramatically increase here as well, but there's been double-digit decline in percentage of 17-year-olds who are planning to go to college or university in America, and partially because of the cost, partially because of unclear return on investment. They don't know what skills they're going to get out of it. So there is a very critical education process about education and about their pathways.